You guys know who Katie Fang is? She does a stream on Midas Touch Network. She's also a legal analyst. She knows the law. She filed a lawsuit against Todd Blanche and the Justice Department for continuing to cover up these Epstein files.
I, Katie Fang, private citizen, have standing to be able to get Todd Blanche as the acting attorney general of the Department of Justice to be able to comply with Judge Sullivan's order, which is now telling him that on or before July 2nd, he either has to put up or shut up. He either has to bring forth unredacted files or show cause as to why he should not or cannot do so. But I have identified, Ben, specific areas in the Epstein files. Number one, redactions that have been made to senders and recipients, names and email addresses for some of the most egregious email communications with Jeffrey Epstein, talking about little girls being naughty, things like that. Judge Sullivan says those identities have to be disclosed.
This is getting real. So this is more of a press on Todd Blanche and this Justice Department than even, Ro Khanna and the rest of these guys, Thomas Massey and them, were trying to put on him. I mean, they've tried their ways, and this is just another step. Who knew? Katie Fang pulling out all the stops.
Number two, the FBI interview notes for the victim who was alleged that when she was 13 years old, she was physically and sexually abused by Donald Trump. Judge Sullivan has said that Todd Blanche must produce those or show cause as to why that he should not have to do so. The names in two internal DOJ documents that identified the co-conspirators / co-defendants that were going to be a part of that proposed indictment in the Southern District of Florida that never materialized because it was never produced or presented to the grand jury. Instead, Epstein got his sweetheart plea deal with the state authorities. Judge Sullivan says that those identities of those co-conspirators and co-defendants must be revealed.
The FBI took notes about one of those accusers. I believe one of the ones that accused Donald Trump, and there's probably tons of others. They took notes, and they're not releasing that. It's another point of contention that many folks who are looking for information were just not getting, and this is forcing that to happen. But we'll see if he follows through on it, because again, when's that last time you've heard of Todd Blanche paying attention to the law or giving a damn about any of this? He ignores it and says, I am the law, and I work for Donald Trump, the biggest criminal in this country. Therefore, we're not following the law. What's the matter with you? You're just a judge. That's how they're acting. But here's the last aspect, and maybe this is something else that's really got them afraid and shook and talking about how we have stolen elections and everything. Because if they lose and more of this comes out, they're going to, as Mike Johnson pointed out, going to be going to prison.
And lastly, there was the redaction log that the Epstein Files Transparency Act required the DOJ to produce contemporaneously with the rollout of these files. It was supposed to identify the grounds underneath this law as to why they were withholding or redacting certain bits of information. The DOJ wiped his ass with it, Ben, and did not produce that at all. Judge Sullivan said, you better do it and start it now. If not, there's going to be consequences. But you know what the best part about this order is? It says that Blanche must produce, quote, to the public, not to just Miss Fang, but to the public. And this is why I brought this lawsuit in the beginning. We needed this transparency as the American public.
Maybe it'll come. But look, Congress folks that were going down to review the files, oversight committee hearings and questions and requests for depositions and testimonies were all ignored. We still haven't seen Pam Bondi do this publicly. So we'll see if there's actually a follow through on, again, another legal loss for them. Another way that they're supposed to be forced by law to release these files and understand what is it they're covering up or currently shredding and burning. Again, like I said, Todd Blanche is the focus of this. He's the one who's losing this case. Now, Tom Tillis, again, outgoing senator, Republican outgoing senator who's been breathing fire. That's what everyone else is saying about Donald Trump lately. All you have to do is listen for them a little bit longer. And when it comes to the case of Todd Blanche, look at the fire breather. He's like puffing smoke now.
I at this point, I'm going to go through the nomination process. I've got a positive predisposition towards Blanche. He is one of the key reasons why we were able to work with the DOJ and get to a good place on Warsh. But if there's even a whiff a lack of independence, then that could influence my vote. But right now, I'm confident in what we see with Blanche. But let's try and figure out a way to completely and finally end these distractions so that we can focus on the damage Democrats could do if they take the House, if they beat incumbent Republicans in the Senate.
If Tom Tillis has a laundry list of things that he's upset and in opposition to Trump about, why is it he still wants the people who are enabling him to do all those things to remain in power? It doesn't make any sense. He's an outgoing senator. Why does he care so much about making sure Donald Trump remains in power and doing all those things? And apparently it has a positive outlook on Todd Blanche based off of what? By the way, he also said that if there's a whiff of a lack of independence from Todd Blanche regarding Donald Trump, he's against it. Hey, Tom, outgoing, fire-breathing senator, here's a whiff, bro. Are you smelling it?
Is there any chance that any of these individuals who partied with Epstein and engaged in, relations with minors will be prosecuted?
Well,
Any
look,
chance?
I'll never say no, and we will always investigate any evidence of misconduct. But as you know, it is not a crime to party with Mr. Epstein, and so as horrible as it's not a crime to email with Mr. Epstein. And some of these men may have done horrible things, and if we have evidence that allows us to prosecute them, you better believe we will. But it's also the kind of thing that the American people need to understand, that it isn't a crime to party with Mr. Epstein. It isn't a crime to have
Didn't look
lunch on
like
his
that's
island.
all that was going on some of those photos. I mean, if the photos could speak, some of them look pretty bad.
That's right. And unfortunately, photos can't speak. And so
Yeah.
we need witnesses and we need
Are there
evidence.
videotapes?
Is there a whiff? Maybe there's a little bit of a lack of independence in order for Tom Tillis to be going out and act like he gives a damn about opposing Todd Blanche. Maybe someone should have asked him, what are the positive parts about Todd Blanche to give you that positive outlook on him? Here's one more whiff. Maybe he's not downwind of all of these whiffs of stank coming from Todd Blanche.
Is the public going to learn the identities of the men who abused the girls with the information that you're releasing? And if not, why not?
I mean, you just baked in an assumption into your question that I have never said and I don't know to be true. Is the public going to learn about men that abuse these girls? Like, what does that mean? I mean, I don't understand what that means. I love working for President Trump. It's the greatest honor of a lifetime. And if President Trump chooses to keep me as acting, that's an honor. If he chooses to nominate me, that's an honor. If he chooses to nominate somebody else and I go back to being the DAG, that's an honor. If he chooses to nominate somebody else and asks me to go do something else, I will say, thank you very much. I love you, sir. So I don't have any goals or aspirations beyond that.
Is the Attorney General publicly saying he loves the president no matter what he does to him and his job? Is that a whiff yet, Tom? I'm just curious. Maybe you can get a whiff of the lack of independence from Todd Blanche.